Welcome to What's Cooking. I'm your host, Ron Hayden, right here at home, getting ready to make spaghetti squash with pesto. All right, it's going to be real nice as I'm going to finish it with a caramelized walnut over the top. It's, a little bit improvisational. I'm thinking spaghetti and pesto. Wait a minute, spaghetti squash, because we're doing a few squash things this week. We'll also, in our other video, be making a beautiful squash soup, a butternut squash with apple. So today we're making this, and I hope you're with me at home and you're gathering your ingredients from Belmont Market and cooking right along with me. And now let's take a closer look to make sure you have everything you need to cook along with me. And so here we go. We shopped at Belmont, and let's review what I picked up there. Over here on my right, your left, some nice fresh baby spinach. And that's going to be about 2/3 of the pesto, and of course it'll be basil. So basil 1/3, about 2/3 spinach. I want it to be creamy and sweet, okay? Not your typical pesto. And again, pestos can contain just about anything green. Of course, we're going to have garlic and olive oil and our Parmesan cheese, and we're going right in the blender with that. We're going to make it fresh right in the blender, so we won't be cooking it. We want those enzymes to be alive for this. And I have already halved and roasted the spaghetti squash. It's ready in my oven, but let's do that next. Let's show how we prep a spaghetti squash and get it into the oven. So let's begin by getting this spaghetti squash cut in half. Okay, it's just like cutting through a watermelon or a pumpkin. Get a good sized chef knife right in there and bring it right down, right in half. And so spaghetti squash is in half, and I'm putting about a 1/2 inch of water into a roasting pan. And perfect, I've got a bowl for my seeds. And I always like to save my seeds because these seeds are delicious. Matter of fact, we could roast these seeds, pan roast them with a little butter and some seasoning, and just garnish right over the top of that with this. We could put the walnuts. See, a little improvisation. I was going to put walnuts on top, but now that I see these seeds, here's a half a squash right there. Pop it into about a 1/2 inch water. I'll probably put a little salt in there, and we're scraping out the second one. And the spaghetti squashes, the halves are hollowed out, and the seeds are saved and into the roasting pan. Again, about a 1/2 inch of water, and there it goes. I'm going to bake it off at 350 for about 30 minutes. So here we go. The spaghetti squash is baking in the oven in a 1/2 inch of water at about 350, 375. Like I said, about 30 minutes. So let's get the pesto going. The first thing I want to do is toast up the garlic and the walnuts before they go into the pesto. I'm going to take some of this right now, some of these bigger cloves, and have them, pop them into my pan. Just popping them in half, and I'm going to go with, oh boy, I want a good size pesto here, so I want a good amount of garlic. So there you go, about 10 cloves cut in half so they'll roast up nice and even and quick, and let's add some walnuts. I'm just going to grab a handful. You can always toast a few and add them on later, but nice little, about 4 tablespoons of walnuts. And I've got a beautiful olive oil right here. This Verolio, like I say, it's a delicate and then mild, as I said in my shopping segment. And this will be really nice to flavor up this pesto. So let's get about a 1/2 cup, and at least let's cover these with about a 1/2 cup. There we go. Beautiful color on this olive oil. Okay, it's starting to smell good in here. I've got the garlic and walnuts sizzling in that beautiful olive oil behind me, and I'm getting ready for the next step here. Let's stuff some baby spinach and some fresh basil down into the blender. And you can use a food processor at home. The blender does a nice job because I like this to be really smooth and creamy. So here we go. About 2/3 of the way with baby spinach, and then the other third with fresh basil. And take a look at that garlic and the walnuts and olive oil. They're nicely browned up and all ready to put in the blender. Now, as I said, it's a nice fresh pesto. The 2/3 spinach, 1/3 basil is packed into the blender, and this beautiful oil, walnuts, and beautifully browned garlic goes right in on top. We'll season with a little bit of sea salt, about a teaspoon, and some crushed pepper, some black pepper in there. And for a little bit more heat, it's cool outside. How about a little red pepper flake? Beautiful. Very nice. And before we blend, one nice big double tablespoon of Parmesan cheese. I don't like to add too much right now. You can always add a little bit more later on top. But this is really about green, creamy goodness. So grab a cold glass of water and let's get ready to blend, because we're going to add a little water in there. And it's going to make it nice and creamy, and it's going to allow the blender to really puree it up nice. Here we go. Pesto is all pureed now. What I did is, as I blended it, I opened up the top, stuffed in a little bit more cheese and the rest of the basil and the spinach. So as it grinds down and you have more room, finish it up, because you want enough pesto for that spaghetti squash and for tomorrow night's pound of pasta. You bet. Before I get that squash out of the oven and top it with that pesto, let's get the garnish ready. Those beautiful spaghetti squash seeds right into the pan. I've got a little butter and brown sugar down here melting, and I'm going to put those right in there so we can get a nice little bit of a sweet caramelization going with our seeds. Just swirl them around, get them coated. We'll let those brown up, get a little bit sweet, a little bit buttery. There we go. Just want to brown them and toast them up a little bit. What a nice finish to spaghetti squash using the seeds. These will be great. So they're browning up nicely and getting a nice little caramelization. Perfect little garnish. So I've taken the spaghetti squash out of the oven. I brought it out to the cooktop here. We're going to scrape it up like spaghetti and get it into the middle of a bowl and get ready to top it with our fresh pesto and those beautifully caramelized spaghetti squash seeds. And here we go. Look how beautiful. We're making spaghetti. Look at that spaghetti. Beautiful, nicely cooked. Not too mushy, just right. Let's get some into the bowl. There's a nice portion right there. Let's do another. It looks like one whole squash will give me 4 big servings and at least 6 smaller, more moderate servings. Depends on what you're doing. Is it a main meal like this, or is it a side? Spaghetti squash is right here in the bowl. The pesto's ready and the seeds are caramelized. Let's put it all together and make it pretty and get ready to taste. Here's the pesto. And let's, like a little moat, let's go around it to make sure we have enough to mix after. This is all for presentation. Let's get right around there. And then right at the top. And then let's have some fun. Let's drip it. Let's make it look pretty. Let's do that. Boy, it looks like a little ship's wheel there or something. Beautiful. Nice. Oh, love it. Looking good. Here we go. Let's grab a few of these candied or caramelized seeds and just kind of plop them in there. What's better than spaghetti squash seeds caramelized with spaghetti squash? Made sense to me. Oh boy, looking good. A couple more. I know you'll be as happy as I am right now when you have this beautiful presentation. the lovely spicy but creamy pesto with that crunchy but just soft enough spaghetti squash, finished with those squash seeds, caramelized, a little crunchy sweet. And look at my beautiful Asiatic lilies from the floral folks or the floral gals over at Belmont Market. I tell you, it all is pretty. It's a beautiful presentation, and let's just make sure it tastes as good as it looks. We have to just eat it just like spaghetti. Twist it up. Ooh, crunch of the seed, tangy, spicy, and just perfect. This is spaghetti squash with pesto, and that's what's cooking.